Images of Saint Joseph found in Pope Francis' Apostolic letter with the Father's heart. With the Father's heart is how Joseph loved Jesus, whom all four Gospels refer to as the son of Joseph. We also know from the Gospels that Joseph was a lowly carpenter betrothed to Mary. He was a just man, ever ready to carry out God's will as revealed to him in the law and through 4 dreams. After a long and tiring journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem, he beheld the birth of the Messiah in a stable. He witnessed the adoration of the shepherds and the Magi, who represented respectively the people of Israel and pagan peoples. A father in the shadows. St. Joseph said nothing that was recorded in the Gospels. In his novel, The Shadow of the Father, Polish writer Jan Dobrzinski uses the evocative image of a shadow to define Joseph. In his relationship to Jesus, Joseph was an earthly shadow of the Heavenly Father. He watched over him and protected him. He didn't think of himself, but focused on the lives of Mary and Jesus. He found happiness in not mere self-sacrifice, but self-gift. His patient silence was a concrete expression of trust in God. Each of us can discover in Joseph, the man who goes unnoticed, a daily, discreet, and hidden presence, an intercessor, a support and guide in times of trouble. St. Joseph reminds us that those who appear hidden or in the shadows can play an incomparable role in the history of salvation. Fathers are not born but made. A man does not become a father simply by bringing a child into the world, but by taking up the responsibility to care for that child. Whenever a man accepts responsibility for the life of another, in some way he becomes a father to that person. Joseph had the courage to become the legal father of Jesus, to whom he gave the name revealed by the angel. You shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. For ancient peoples, to give a name to a person was to establish a relationship. A creatively courageous father. Joseph was a man chosen by God to guide the beginnings of the history of redemption. He was the protector and provider for Jesus and Mary. He turned a stable into a welcoming home for the Son of God to come into the world. He protected Jesus and Mary from Herod, who wanted to kill Jesus. Trusting in a dream, he whisked his family to Egypt in the middle of the night, and he provided for them in that foreign land. God always finds a way to save us, provided we show the same creative courage as Joseph, who was able to turn a problem into a possibility by trusting always in God. In the face of difficulty, we can either give up and walk away or somehow engage with it. At times, difficulties bring out resources we didn't think we had. An accepting father. Even though Joseph does not understand the bigger picture, he makes a decision to protect Mary's good name, her dignity, and her life. He accepted Mary unconditionally. Joseph set aside his own ideas in order to accept the course of events, and mysteriously as they seemed, to embrace them, take responsibility for them, and make them part of his own history. He was not passively resigned, but courageously and firmly proactive. The spiritual path that Joseph traces for us is not one that explains, but accepts. Just as God told Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid, so he seems to tell us, do not be afraid. We need to embrace the way things are, even when they do not turn out as we wish, not with mere resignation, but with hope and courage, In this way, we become open to a deeper meaning. Even through Joseph's fears, God's will, his history, and his plan were at work. Joseph then teaches us that faith in God includes believing that he can work even through our fears, our frailties, and our weaknesses. He also teaches us that amid the tempests of life, we must never be afraid to let the Lord steer our course. At times, we want to be in complete control, yet God always sees the bigger picture. A working father. An aspect of St. Joseph that has been emphasized is his relation to work. St. Joseph was a carpenter who earned an honest living to provide for his family. From him, Jesus learned the value, the dignity, and the joy of what it means to eat bread that is the fruit of one's own labor. Work is a means of salvation, an opportunity to hasten the coming of the kingdom, to develop our talents and abilities, and to put them in the service of society. It becomes an opportunity for the fulfillment not only of oneself, but also of that of the primary cell of society, which is the family. A family without work is particularly vulnerable to difficulties, tensions, estrangement, and even breakup. How can we speak of human dignity without working to ensure that everyone is able to earn a decent living? Working persons, whatever their job may be, are cooperating with God Himself and in some way become creators of the world around us. An obedient father. St. Joseph was called by God to save the person and the mission of Jesus directly through the exercise of his fatherhood. And in this way, he cooperated in the fullness of time in the great mystery of salvation and is truly a minister of salvation. A beloved and tender loving father. The greatness of St. Joseph is that he was the spouse of Mary and the father of Jesus. He was at the service of the entire plan of salvation. Thanks to this, St. Joseph has always been venerated as a father by Christian people. This is shown by the countless churches dedicated to him worldwide, and he being named a patron saint of Canada. In 1870, Pope Pius IX proclaimed St. Joseph as a patron of the Universal Church. He is also the patron saint of families, fathers, expectant mothers, travelers, immigrants, house sellers and buyers, craftsmen, engineers, and working people in general. And not to forget, St. Joseph is a patron saint of a happy death.